There we go. Good evening, all. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting in Northampton Township for May 10th, 2022. Before we get started tonight, I'd ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for our armed services and first responders, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay. The last time we met was February 8th, so our first bit of business tonight is to approve the minutes from the February 8th meeting of 2022. May I have a board member approve the minutes, please?
I move to approve the minutes.
Can I have a second? So approved. Okay. On our agenda this evening is a long-awaited consideration of preliminary final plan of land development for the Dunkin' Donuts over on 2nd Street Pike. Do we have the architect, is it tonight, that's going to make the presentation, or whoever's making presenting on behalf of the client?
So, sure, we have a few people. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sure.
My name is Mike Malloy.
Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Good.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. And I'm from the law firm Obermeyer, Rebb, and Maxwell Hippel.
Okay.
I have Dave Horner. Dave Horner is from Horner and Cantor, which is our traffic engineer.
Hey, Dave.
Sorry, wait, hold on. And we have Tom Borghetti?
Yes.
Borghetti. And Tom is from, from Cunningham, Holmes and Cunningham.
Okay.
Then we have JT Young, and JT Young is from the applicant, and the applicant is, as you know, 232 Investments.
Right.
We're talking about 960 2nd Street Pike. I'm filling in for Kelly McGowan, whose project is, unfortunately, she's not here, and you got me. And as you know, the project, as you may be familiar, we're consolidating 3 lots, creating an approximately 35,742 square foot lot. They're proposing approximately a 4,290 square foot building, half of which will have a Dunkin' Donuts. It's a
Okay.
relocation of a Dunkin' Donuts that's existing in the township already. The lease is up at that location, and so we're constructing this new Dunkin' Donuts and the second space for a future tenant, which we hope will be compatible and used with the Dunkin' Donuts. I've had several review letters that have been issued, and I'm here to tell you that we will build or will place the streetlight, which is the only question I think that was out there. The rest of the comments are will compliance.
Yeah.
So we are happy to hear, and everybody's here to talk about the project, answer your questions, but understand that we're going to meet every point in the letters, every concern to the township's satisfaction.
Okay.
So we're happy to review the waivers if you want. There's a few of them. They were all pretty self-explanatory and sort of site-driven, in my opinion, a lot of them. Some of them having to do already granted and already sort of vetted with the zoning hearing board. Others, I would say are due to pre-existing conditions, so if I had to generalize, the waivers. But again, Tom's here to go over that in detail. Dave can talk about traffic. There is going to be a drive-through at the location. We have no concerns about stacking onto 2nd Street Pike.
Okay.
And Dave is here to confirm that for
Okay.
us.
So in our package here, we were given from Kristen Holmes, presentation of the project itself with the waivers that the zoning hearing board's already approved.
So, no, the waivers are approved by the Board of Supervisors at Land Development, the zoning.
Yeah, I understand.
Has addressed some of those.
Addressed some of the waivers.
In the zoning ordinance
And
context,
the
not
board,
the staff
yeah,
context.
yeah, and
So, yeah.
we're on a recommending board we wouldn't approve anything.
Sure,
We
if
would
you-
just
if
give
the
it our
board-
blessing, and it goes up to the Board of
If the commission
Supervisors.
recommends waivers, and that's their policy, then we'd ask for a recommendation on the waivers as well.
Okay.
If they just recommend the final preliminary/final plan approval, I think that covers this as well. To
Okay.
Take whatever the customary practice of the commission is.
So I'm not sure that any other members of the board have any questions regarding those. I know we have some traffic questions, but I'll just open it up right now to board questions and comments. Anyone?
I guess the stacking is the, the main point that I'm interested in. If I go by the current situation at the current Dunkin' Donuts, there's usually quite a line there indoors. And the service, while efficient, can be quite slow. If that turns into automobiles rather than people, I could see a situation where stacking becomes a problem towards 2nd Street Pike. How do you plan on alleviating that?
Well, first, let's make sure everyone understands. So the existing Dunkin' Donuts you're referring to doesn't have a drive-through, that's correct?
Right,
Right.
right.
So what you're saying is you've seen some activity, a lot of, well, I don't know if congestion you've seen, but you've seen activity where you're concerned that if those customers, which are indoor now at that location, become drive-through, what's that going to be?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll say is, first of all, in terms of the site layout, there's a stacking on site of approximately 11 vehicles driving, which is actually more than what is typically provided. It's the we maximize the site, essentially. Just to go over some other physical details so everyone's comfortable, and I'm looking at the plan up on the screen, there's a full bypass lane around it. So in terms of where the stacking is, it hugs the building, goes around 3 sides. So we've maximized that ability. Some stores have situations where there's not a bypass lane fully, and then there could be some congestion created from that. None of the cars stacked in the drive-through lane would be blocking any parking or causing any congestion with regard to someone trying to traverse the aisles. So that's good. We also have the flow laid out as an inbound driveway and an outbound driveway separately, which also prevents congestion in terms of you don't have people leaving the drive-through and then fighting to get back to the same driveway where the entering cars.
So after the customer pays, he has a separate exit.
They exit directly
Right.
onto, and there's 2 separate lanes for left and right turns. So all those aspects physically, we've maximized the site, provided 11 stacking. One important feature of this Dunkin' Donuts, which is not the case with several, is 2 separate windows, a pay window and a pickup window. That's critically important for getting the efficiency of the drive-through. Basically, what we're hearing, and JP, you have experience with several other Dunkin' Donuts, it's about a 30-second transaction time, which gets the traffic through there quite quickly. In terms of operationally, and that's where I think gets to the crux of the issue, when you have people parking and coming in, there's, I don't know what the exact time period is that it takes to make that transaction, but it's more time involved. You got the person leaving our car, going into the store, it's a different efficiency. With the drive-through, it's about 30 seconds transaction time. You've got the 2 separate windows to split that up and make it a much quicker flow. What they also do at stores like this is you notice there's those angled parking spaces just on the, the right side of the drive-through. So if there's an order that is a little bit larger, and typically the orders are pretty quick, a coffee, a donut, something like that. It's a little larger. What they'll do is they'll go to the pay window, and then they'll say, pull out of the line, pull into those angled spaces, and we'll bring the food out to you. And what that does is, and it's an operational thing, so all the employees know, the manager knows that's how we're going to handle this. So that prevents a concern where one order takes 5 minutes and backs up the whole line. So for all those reasons, I'm very comfortable that we're not going to have any issue with stacking out onto the roadway. And I've had experience with other Dunkin' Donuts where our firm has documented studies. We can certainly provide some information in response to the McMahon Associates letter. I think they asked for maybe some of that information. Basically shows that generally we're going to have between maybe 6 and 8 as the maximum queue during the peak times. And we've got room for 11. So hopefully that gives you some comfort level, but really operationally is where you get the efficiency to address any concerns that might arise in the future.
Do they have the same size staff? Do they have the same size staff in this facility as they do like in an indoor one?
I'd have to defer that to Mr.
Yeah.
Young.
Hi. Typically at a drive-through, we have increased staff by quite a few more in order to handle, especially with the 2 windows. This will be a payment window, so you have 2
Right.
people actually handling that transaction. One other note I would like to make in regards to the existing location. Customers who have like larger orders, such as picking out a dozen donuts or 2 dozen donuts, box of Joe, they typically walk into the store. So that store, we have everybody, 100% of our customers flowing through one door. So that's what happens when you see a backup, especially on the weekends. It's because those people are making those large purchases, picking out their donuts, while the other customers are just waiting in line, where in this case, 60% or so are actually coming through the drive-through.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Do you have any of the elevations, like color graphics of what the building will look like?
Yeah, that would be, I don't know.
Yes. Should have been.
Yeah, and that, excuse me, that kind of leads to the question of how closely or how much interaction have you had with the village overlay requirements and your design team, and are you following the suggestions on that closely, or?
Yeah, I defer that to, I guess, the civil engineer, or, I don't know if that's you, Mr. Young.
We are using the guidance of the village overlay district, and we intend to comply with that ordinance. And we've had conference calls with the architect working on it, and she's also looking at the village overlay district when, picking out materials and style for the building.
And the order board will be on the lower left, that's just not there in this graphic?
Correct.
Okay.
It'll kind of be where that, the middle down pointing arrow is.
Right. Like at the end of, I guess it's a walk-in freezer or something on the menu or the.
Correct, yeah, to the left side of the walk-in freezer.
And so the vehicle stacking, what's the number of cars between that order board and the street? Like, is that a calculation, or is it, because you said 11, but is that 11 from the pickup window all the way around back to the
Yeah,
entrance?
the 11 refers to the pickup window all the way back around.
Okay.
The number of vehicles from the order board to the end of the queue, I don't recall that number. I don't know, Tom, if you know that.
It's 6, with the 6th vehicle being at the order board.
Okay.
Actually, one of the sheets in our set, sheet 19, shows that stacking queue.
Okay.
Right. Normally in Dunkin' Donuts or other stores with drive-throughs where they have a combined pay and pickup window, that's usually where the delay is, if there is going to be a delay, not so much the order board. So in this case, since we've separated those, you've got the order, you've got the pay, you've got the pickup. You're basically servicing 3 customers at a time, essentially.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Can you describe some of the materials on the building itself? Are the asphalt shingles? What kind of siding? Is there siding on it? Is there stone? I mean, can you just give kind of a general? At this point, have you gotten that far with it or not?
Yeah, I think maybe Joe can speak more.
I can speak a little bit on this. The architect couldn't be here tonight, but just experienced other Dunkins, and just forgot to mention as well, the architect that we are using was involved in the Addisville Commons Center there, so it's pretty familiar with the architecture. On the bottom there, if you look at the top left image, the bottom, that's going to be a stone facade on the bottom there with a stone ledger, and then the siding is not your typical house siding. It's actually it's like a false wood material, so it looks age appropriate and kind of fit in with the design of the A-frame architecture there. Same thing on the side, on the top right, that is going to be the northbound facing side. The vertical slots there, that is that wood material as well. As far as roof goes, I believe it's the asphalt shingles, but I'm not 100% positive on that.
I understand that there's no proposed tenant for the other building at the present time.
Yeah, nothing yet. To be fully candid, we're waiting for the elevations in order to put it on the market for someone to look at the space.
The signage just on the building, is that the only signage? There's no like street signage, there's no like,
There will be a pylon sign,
Yeah,
or
there will be additional signage, including a freestanding sign, and the signage package is going to be submitted separately for review.
okay.
Electronic or not? Will there be any electronics on the sign, or is it strictly graphic sign?
Like a logo, or is it going to have words that change or anything?
no.
Just the logo.
That's not our intention.
Okay,
no.
good.
It's just going to be a traditional DD or Dunkin', whatever the current, that sign up there. It's no longer Dunkin' Donuts, so it'll just be Dunkin'.
During peak times, if you do get it back up, are you going to have anybody watching? Or are you going to have plans in place to move your employees over to the drive-through to get, to handle the backup?
Well, a lot of times so this design with the 2 windows, it's not something we have currently in our organization. A lot of this is coming from Dunkin' stats that they've been, when they've been implementing these double windows. They do put a camera outside typically in order to, see what's going on. So that is kind of one of our intentions, to have a camera just in case something were to happen. We have a video, making sure that it wasn't going out in the street. One thing, I don't know if what we've seen is self-regulating. So if something were happening where they were backing up pretty close to the street, a customer would see that and generally pull in. Like I said earlier, about 60 to 65% of the customers are coming through the drive-through. So you still have a considerable amount coming through into the door.
Any other board comments, questions?
I want to ask about that.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, one of my favorite questions for anybody building on 2nd Street Pike is, when do you put your driveway out to the access road behind you that goes behind Wawa? And has there been any chatting, discussion on that at all? I mean, I know it showed up in one of the, in McMahon's review. And has there been any discussion of that issue at all at this point?
I don't want to speak for JT, but yes, and my understanding is yes, and the applicant will comply, if and when that access road becomes a reality.
Well, I think the point is that you would be responsible for the access road, if I understand correctly. And it's, it's one of these things where on the big plan in Richboro, they wanted to try to get traffic, some traffic off of 2nd Street Pike and allow them to come in off of the access road behind Wawa and those properties.
Yeah.
But at this point, nobody has.
Yeah, I'm not sure the access road is on this property, so, right,
Yeah.
so, but we would do whatever we needed to do to cooperate and improve.
Well, that's
allow
really
the
a
road- to
supervisor's
allow the-
issue. I'm just wondering if there's been any discussion on it at all at this point. It doesn't sound that way.
In detail, guys, anything discussed?
Nothing in detail. I never really had anything in plans. I know there's been discussion about it,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen anything. I do know that, I'm not sure if the synagogue owns a property behind us. Generally, the way I look at it is, if that's the goal of the township, to try to pull the cars, I want to be a part of that. So it would be my best interest in the future, if that was the plan, in order to have access to my site. I wouldn't want to captivate myself and miss half my audience.
Well, it's great that you're willing to talk about it. As I say, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of chatter about it at this point. And it's a dream in a lot of ways, but we haven't taken it to any kind of concrete plans or anything at this point.
Yeah.
You're right, Steve, it's a dream. It's a great idea going back behind to get the traffic off a heavily traveled 2nd Street Pike, but it's not connected to anything except the Wawa, or right at the very beginning where you're coming off of Alms House, so, Any other board comment or questions for our panel here? Amanda, do you have any comments or questions?
No comments. I would just like to, I guess, touch on the streetlight that was mentioned earlier. We had it noted in our letter that on the Richboro streetlight plan, there's actually 2 lights called out for these 3 properties. So I think they did mention that they would comply with putting in 2 streetlights.
Correct. Our plan currently shows 1, so we would put the other one as well.
I meant the other street.
No further board or comments, but any public comments? Nothing from the public? Okay. I'd like to ask a board member to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors preliminary final approval of the Dunkin' Donuts land development, SLD 22-2, located at 960 Second Street Pike, subject to compliance with the Township Engineers Review Letter dated May 2nd, 2022. The Township Planners Review Letter dated May 2nd, 2022, and the Township Traffic Engineers Review Letter dated May 3rd, 2022. It is also recommended that the requested waivers be granted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Unanimously passed, gentlemen. Good luck with the project. We're looking forward to it. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Boom.
Yeah.